In this video, I am going to discuss about Bohr effect. In my last video, I have already discussed about oxygen dissociation curve or oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. If the affinity of oxygen towards hemoglobin goes down, then the curve shifted to right. If the affinity increase, then the curve shifted to left. Okay. So what is the Bohr effect? So let's start. What is the meaning of the Bohr effect? At the tissue site, suppose that these are the different cells or this is the tissue. Okay. So these tissue consuming oxygen, after metabolic activity, more and more carbon dioxide are produced. So at the tissue level, the concentration of carbon dioxide is more, means partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more than the oxygen. So at the tissue level, the partial pressure of oxygen which is low. So this carbon dioxide, because of the production of more and more carbon dioxide from the tissue side, from the tissue, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more at the tissue level. Okay. So 70% of carbon dioxide which is readily fused with or enter into RBC, inside RBC, which this carbon dioxide which react with the water and which produce carbonic acid H2CO3, and readily carbonic acid which dissociate into H plus and HCO3 ion, H plus ion and bicarbonate ion. Okay, and chloride shift is occurring here. 23% of carbon dioxide which combine with hemoglobin and it forms carba-amino hemoglobin. Suppose that this is hemoglobin, carba-amino hemoglobin. And percent of carbon dioxide which react with water and it forms carbonic acid. So most of the carbon dioxide it is transported in the form of carbonic acid, and this carbonic acid which readily dissociate into H plus ion and HCO3 bicarbonate ion. Okay, and this H plus ion which increase the acidity, so it increase the acidity of the blood. It means that which decrease the pH. pH decrease means which increase the acidity. Suppose that in the blood. So when carbon dioxide react with hemoglobin or the H plus ion which react with hemoglobin which decreases the affinity of oxygen, with hemoglobin. Suppose that this is the cross mark, means it decreases the affinity of oxygen with hemoglobin. So with the increasing of H plus ion and which decrease the affinity of oxygen to the hemoglobin. Okay, and this is known as the Bohr effect. So this is known as the Bohr effect. It means that here affinity is decreasing. Means suppose that this is your oxygen dissociation curve. So now this curve shifted to left side because the affinity is decreasing here. And this is known as the Bohr effect. So Bohr effect which actually promotes or tells about the internal respiration which taking place inside the tissue level and which promotes the transport of carbon dioxide. from the tissue to lungs. So when the oxygen affinity decreasing, then more and more oxygen release from the hemoglobin, and which entering into tissue. More and more oxygen releasing from the hemoglobin and entering into tissue. So it promotes the internal respiration and transport of carbon dioxide from tissue to the lungs, and this is known as the Bohr effect. So Bohr effect, which tells about the decreasing of affinity of oxygen with the hemoglobin, which taking place at the tissue level. And here the curve which shifted, the oxygen dissociation curve which shifted to right side. So this is whole about of the Bohr effect. Thank you for watching.